Mute.
Correct.
Okay, got it. And are you the applicant on the property here today?
Correct.
Okay, great. Welcome. And we also have Emily A. House from the planning department. Hi, Emily.
Good morning.
All right. I need to read through our hearing script. This will just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get started. So this is the September 4th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Uh, Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. Case before us is case number ZH20240102. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. The hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. To Mr. Combs, I'll give you an opportunity to tell me about the project, any background you think is important, the relief that you're requesting, and why you think that relief is appropriate. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I will hear from the planning department and Ms. A. House to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to the application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony, offer an opposition, and then finally make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. Okay, last thing I need to do here is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, if you could please raise your right hand and answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Mr. Combs, if you could raise your right hand, take yourself off mute and
Yes.
respond. Okay, great. All right, Mr. Combs, are you ready to tell me about the project?
Sure.
All right, floor is yours.
Um, so we purchased this property in December of 21. And the reason that we purchased this property is because we were expecting my son, who came January 3rd of 22. And as he became more mobile and active, there was we were concerned about the rear of our property, which abuts River Road 50. At the east end, the wall retaining our property above River Road is about 5.5 feet, and goes down to about 3 feet at the west end. And so I decided to erect a fence for my children's safety, um, the safety of traffic, retaining any toys or anything from my children, um, our pets. It also serves to retain grass clippings when I'm mowing along the top of the wall. As well as it provides just buffer from the traffic. It has extremely cut down on the wind, light, noise, dust and dirt and debris kicked up on the roadway, as well as mitigated some of the theft problem that we had from the vagrants living in the woods across the railroad tracks. There's numerous reasons why I wanted to build the fence. I simply went on Google and looked up the building regulations and code pertaining to the construction of the fence. And as I stated in my application, I never saw or was made aware from my research of the requirement for the certificate of compliance for the fence. I just built the fence to exactly what the building code provides in the building code. Um, So this was brought to my attention that I needed a certificate of compliance to maintain my fence that's already built. So that's why we're here.
Okay,
Uh,
so to be clear, did you ever obtain a permit to build a fence
No,
or communicate with the city at all, but prior to
no, sir.
building the fence? Okay, gotcha.
Like I said,
Uh,
I just went and researched the building code and found the section pertaining to fences and walls. And the way I understood it, there was no reference to any permit or the certificate of compliance in that section. It wasn't brought to my attention until after contact with the building and inspections department that they referenced the certificate of compliance, which is in a completely different section of the building code.
got it. Okay.
So as far
Um,
as my communication, like I stated in my application, I just talked to my neighbors on both sides of me. When we went to go construct the fence, they were present. We mutually agreed on the location of the fence when we were marking out our holes for the posts. And they both told me that there was no permit needed for the fence, which is true. It's not technically a permit, it's the certificate. But like I said, from my research, I could not find anything that would tell me that I needed the permit or the certificate of compliance. So
got it. Okay.
that's why I went ahead and just constructed the fence
Okay.
without
Is the
the
fence located entirely within your property?
that's been some debate. I built it directly on top of the retaining wall. Um, but that's what one of the neighbor they explained to me that when they built 50 and they put the retaining wall in that the there was a there was a push from the residents here to get the city to erect a fence on top of the wall. Um, and that's where they have a fence on top of their wall, on both sides of me. So I just built my fence directly on top of the retaining wall
Okay.
in line with theirs.
Got it. Okay. Anything else you'd like to say at this point?
Not unless you have any questions for me.
I don't think I have any more right now. I think I'll take a minute here and hear from the planning department. Emily,
Okay.
did you want to add anything?
Sure. I can just add to our staff report, the relief that's being requested is because while this functions as a rear yard, it fronts a street. So based on the zoning code, it is considered a front yard. So it needs relief to be 6 feet tall and 100% opaque in a privacy fence, as those are only permitted in the rear yard. We did check in with the Department of Transportation Engineering because this is a unique circumstance. Because DOTE maintains that wall. If you look at the parcel lines and cages, it does appear that this is all on private property, but DOTE is responsible for the maintenance. So they confirmed they don't need to be formally a part of the fence approval process, but they did want to, make sure that the property owner was aware and to capture it as a condition of approval that if that retaining wall needs to be maintained, the onus is going to be on the property owner to remove the fence and replace it if there is DOTE maintenance that needs to occur that requires that. So we are recommending approval with that condition. Just generally, so the property owner is aware that the DOTE, may have to remove, the fence may have to be removed in order to maintain that retaining wall based on its placement. Overall, there are special circumstances to the site due to the double frontage and the, heavily trafficked road at the rear of the property, which is technically considered a front yard. And there are other similar privacy fences in the vicinity. So it is a substantial property right enjoyed by others.
Got it. Okay. Uh, as and I tend to agree that this is a good example of a property that, you know, this side should not necessarily be treated the same as a conventional front yard, particularly on River Road here. But the condition that's recommended, that would be a condition that repairs that need to be made to the retaining wall, if they impact the fence at all, would be the owner's responsibility to remove the fence.
And that, if you don't feel that that's necessary as a zoning condition, we're okay with that. It was more that DOT wanted us to make sure that was captured. Because that's their
Okay.
position. They didn't need
Okay.
to approve the fence. They wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that that was on the record. That,
Yeah.
while they're not gonna oppose the installation of the fence, it's not their responsibility to replace it if maintenance needs to occur.
I understand. Mr. Combs, do you have any response to that recommendation from DOTE and the planning department here?
My only response is that's why I chose to build the fence on top of the wall and anchor it to the top of the wall. It makes that process a lot more simple rather than digging post holes behind the wall and disturbing the drainage and the function of the wall. And if anything needed to ever be changed or repaired with the wall, the fence that I erected could technically be disassembled and removed and potentially just laid down instead of needing to be completely destroyed or demolished or uprooted. That we had some debate on how we were going to construct the fence, and that's what we chose, was to just anchor it and support it back from the wall on our side and make it easier for any future maintenance. Obviously, I believe that wall is going to long outlast the fence, but we didn't want to dig down into the drainage rock behind the wall and all of that. So we tried not to disturb the wall as much as possible by just anchoring it on top of the wall and supporting it 3 feet back from the wall, instead of, because I wanted the fence as close to the wall as possible to maintain as much of my yard space and make it more difficult for any of the thieves that we've had issue with coming and jumping up on top of the wall, stealing my stuff and running back across River Road. I wanted the face of the fence flush with the wall to kind of make it so they couldn't scale it as easily. So I'm fine with that. That's that did kind of play into how we decided to construct the fence.
Okay. All right, great. Mr. Combs, anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. Based on that and the testimony here today, I am going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision, which will include any conditions of the approval in writing. I said at the beginning of the hearing that typically takes about 2 weeks. I think that's a realistic expectation right now.
Okay.
As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I'll email it to both you, Mr. Combs, and the planning department. As soon as they have that, you can take the next steps. And I think at that point, Emily, is a certificate of compliance that he would get.
Yes, and I can't recall in this case if you've applied for a certificate of compliance, we'll issue it. Otherwise, for work that doesn't require a building permit, then the zoning hearing examiner decision is the authority.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, if you have any questions, Mr. Combs, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
just going to ask, will your department inform the building inspector, because I received another violation for the fence yesterday? Or will I just need to send them the certificate as soon as I get it from you?
Yes, I would recommend calling the number and let them know you had your hearing today and you're waiting on the decision. And do you have the name of the inspector?
It's Sean Fenn.
Okay, I can let him know as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, great. If you have any other questions, Mr. Combs, please feel free to reach out to myself or to ZH. And I think that's it. Unless you have any other questions.
Not that I can think of at this time.
Okay, great.
I appreciate your
Well,
time.
thank you. We are adjourned.